The other day I told you we have a statue of George Washington. I probably commented it's not very big, but we've got one. And it's up the top here. You're going to see it. Look to the left as we turn. There it is. And they flattened the area around St. Paul's virtually completely. But by some miracle the cathedral stood, although it was hit twice. William invaded this country from Normandy in France. He won the Battle of Hastings, at which the King of England, King Harold, was killed. William then marched into London with his soldiers. Museum, where the crown jewels are kept. But it is best known for the fact it was a prison, and it was at its height in the 16th and 17th centuries. It was the prison for statesmen and Pool of London, as we call this section of the River Thames. This is as far as the larger boats would go. If you go further east than Tower Bridge, you're heading down towards Docklands, Canary Wharf, Greenwich, and eventually to the sea. The battleship moored down here, she's permanently here now as a museum. It's HMS Belfast. She last saw active service in Korea, and she also served in World War II, but she's permanently moored here now. Well, London Bridge, if you can imagine this being the only bridge spanning the river, the area on the other side of it quickly grew up as the first suburb of London. Mayor of London, this is his headquarters, this is City Hall. And then there's another modern building over on the other side of the river, which you won't miss. It's an office building opened about 2 years ago. I was telling you about the changing skyline of London. This has been nicknamed by the Londoners the Gherkin, like the pickle. Looks more like a rocket to me, but there we are. That is the Gherkin. And we have the Tower of London coming up to the left of the bridge over here, and you'll immediately see it's not just one tower, as the name suggests. There are 20 towers covering an area of 18 acres, so it is pretty big. Right in the center of the whole complex is the oldest part, the White Tower that William the Conqueror built as his garrison in 1078. But in its time, as I say, palace, prison, zoo, mint, observatory. Notice the round towers which were added 150 years later. These were the prisons. They then added another very heavy outer wall, and down to the left, where there is now a moat, where there is now grass, I should say, there was originally a moat. So it is a solid piece of building, and few escaped from here in its entire history. Tower of London. This is where we meet 10:35. 10:35 right by the gates here. Just beyond the gate is the inevitable gift shop. Now, this is the oldest part of the whole complex. This is the White Tower. This is what William the Conqueror built as his garrison in 1078. Very solid piece of building. Its walls are between 11 and 15 feet thick. Beneath it originally were dungeons and torture chambers, 3 floors above it, enclosing a small Norman chapel. Now, going back to medieval times, it was the tradition for the king to spend the night before his coronation in this building in the chapel in prayer. And then, having cleansed his soul, so to speak, he would take a bath. Now you must remember that was a very unusual occurrence in those days. The knights who attended the king became known as the Knights of the Bath, and as you know, this is now the third highest order of chivalry awarded for service to the country. So starting as a garrison, this later became a palace. It is now the armory. There's a collection of armor, guns and swords on show here. And on the, shush! On the top floor at the moment, there's a special exhibit called Torture at the Tower. The entrance to the building, where you see the two birds, these wooden steps here. Okay, so this is available to you as well. But we're now going to go up these steps and go and have a look at the scaffold site. Who had committed no crime at all, but her son had been preaching against Henry on the continent, and the only member of the family Henry could get his hands on was the mother. They just brought her here and executed her. She was followed by Henry's fifth wife, Catherine Howard, and on the very same day, her lady-in-waiting. Jane Viscountess Rochford was well aware that the Queen was having an affair, namely with Thomas Culpeper. She'd not reported the matter to the king. That was treason and quite good enough to execute her. The third Queen of England to end her days here was Lady Jane Grey. She was only 16 years of age. She had been queen for just 9 days, so she had not been crowned.
Nice views. You go down that way, stand by that rope.